What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It's taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
How much time do you want for your progress? It took my father's time, it took my daddy's time, it took my brother's time, it took all the ancestor time. How much more time do you want for your progress? Powerful words from the late, great James Baldwin. Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the June 2nd edition of Rhetorically Speaking. Shout out to the people who are watching on Facebook. Props to the people who are watching on YouTube. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And at some point in the next few minutes, props to the people who are watching on Instagram. I'm going to give them a little bit of love today, even though they don't like to follow the rules. Listen, it's another day. It's another day, and the protests continue. We're going to get that right there. It's another day, and the protests continue, which is a beautiful thing. So we're talking about day 7. We're talking about, for some folk, day 8, because at the tail end of last Monday night, when this information came out, people were already on the front lines, ready to make it happen. Right? It's needed. I'll be honest. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that these protests continue, and that 90% of it is peaceful. No need to mention the looting. No need to mention that, right? The vandalism. I said it right then and there, but it's no need to mention that because we know what that's a byproduct of. We recognize that, like the good brother Jalil said yesterday, that because America loves capitalism so much, because it's this idea that goods are private, and the only way to partake in goods and services is to purchase it, people are rebelling against that idea. Listen, I want to get y'all comments. I want to get y'all questions because, again, it's just me today, right? So I would love to have that input. You can also call the line. I haven't done it yet, but you can call because I know it's roughly, about 7 o'clock, so I know the bill collector's not going to call that line. Because they sure enough be calling that Google Voice line. It's not for me, but it's for somebody. And I'm like, y'all kind of smart to give the Google Voice line because that number recycles quite frequently. You can also Skype me, rhetorically speaking, at gmail.com. We all in the same boat. I got to shave my hair. I'm still in the decision phase of whether I'm going to grow my hair back or if I'm going to keep it with the baldy, right? Because we recognize that hair in the cutting off of hair, like Lauryn Hill in her Unplugged days, represents freedom. And that's what we all seeking these days. We're all seeking freedom and what it looks like for us. We're seeking justice and what it might look like for us. So again, you're more than welcome to Skype in. I try to do what it do so you could get on or you can give the phone line a call as it is 267-420-2070. I'm going to get it right into it. Again, I talked about the protests that continue. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's lasted this long because a lot of times we live in a lot of times people are fickle. We live in this social media era. We live in this microwave era where everything is instant. Everything is instant, and as fast as it comes up, it goes away. God bless the dead. Ahmaud Arbery was an afterthought. If we can be honest, and comparatively speaking, I don't like to compare traumas, but if we do compare situations, once we ran with Maud, we was on to the next. Except for those diligent few who knew that the conversation needed to continue. Breonna Taylor, she got a sniff. And then that was it. and we continued on with our daily programming. And so here we are on day 7 and day 8 of protest for Gregory Floyd, and we see the protesters still going peacefully, no matter what your president said, not my president, but your president, no matter what he says, no matter the negative terminology that he uses to describe a group of people, who a lot of them are black folk. But we know that dog whistle. We know what that code talk is. We're not going to get it's good people on that side. They just want to be heard. Now, we get threats of the National Guard. We get threats of the military. So we know what that is. We know what that's about. Here in Philadelphia on a highway 676. Granted, it was a highway. But listen, we protesting everywhere. Protesting isn't relegated to the sidewalk. No, this is about disruption. Because this is about being seen. This is about being heard. And so, yes, we will disrupt in any way possible. Like the famous slogan says, no justice, no peace. And so on this highway, you have thousands of individuals peacefully protesting. And whether it was the police or the National Guard, some military op, they began to shoot tear gas and rubber bullets at the peaceful protesters who are exercising their right to free speech, to peacefully assemble. Why? Because they want the mayhem. They want the fury. You could insert group here when I talk about they. I'm not going to do that. I'll let y'all do that. But we know who these individuals are. But again, I'm shocked. This is the first time in a very long time I've seen a group of people from all walks of life come together for the common cause. This is the first time, and I have, my long-term memory is kind of suspect, where we see global participation, different countries protesting something that's unique to the black experience. And so it's a beautiful thing. It's a first for me. I don't remember seeing this with Rodney King. I don't remember seeing this with Sean Bell. I don't remember seeing this with Eric Garner. I don't remember seeing this with Sandra Bland. Haven't seen it. Maybe you can refresh my memory. And so I'm proud. A part of me is proud to see how people are coming together for the common cause, for the good. I'm seeing all these statements come out from high-profile individuals. A lot of folk are in the business of engaging with black folk. And so they have no choice. Their hands are forced. And so what are we talking about? We're talking a lot about our athletics. These coaches, the Dabo Sweeneys, who's the head football coach at Clemson. He needs black people to continue to make his millions. And so at no point will he ostracize himself more than he already has in various statements that he's made. Right? I'm getting into Tiger Woods' statement a little bit later. Once you got Tiger coming out, you got Tiger Woods, Mr. Cobbler Canadian, coming out saying, yo, this is messed up. Then you know you've reached the pinnacle of outrage. Because that brother, and yes, I'm going to call him that brother, because even though he doesn't necessarily fully embrace his blackness, he still could come to the cookout. He could come. Yes, Tiger could come to the cookout. Because at some point, he could potentially be an ally. At some point, he could potentially be an asset. You might got to have that talk with him before y'all get into the cookout. Listen, man, listen. Keep the views to yourself. Just say, when you in here. Just sit, right? When you go in, just go get a chair and just go sit over there. Don't disturb nothing. And just cheer. Maybe go get you a plate. Don't comment on who made the potato salad. You haven't earned that luxury, Tiger. But yes, you can come. Chakra LA said, nah. Nah, Tiger not invited. I'm alright with Tiger coming to the cookout. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's we can't afford to cancel anybody. We can't afford to cancel anybody. And so again, I'm proud of the protests that are taking place. But that's not enough. That's not enough because we at this point now we need to have some demands as a community, as a society. And truth be told, I have no idea what the demands are. For example, for black folk that live here in Philly. I was given some information to a platform for a group. And maybe I can get that information for you a little bit later. I talked about it yesterday. But as far as tangible goals, I'm not too familiar. And so, yes, in the midst of the outrage, we still need to have a plan of some sort. And so I look at New York City. Which is a wild place. I knew it was the reason I do not like New York City. It's a little too fast paced. They a little bit all over the place. Philly is a city of communities. You get your big city feel, but still you get your stay in your own lane. But one of the things that came up in the midst of this last week in New York City is that they're going to be voting on some legislation. One of them is one that would criminalize the use of a chokehold by New York City Police Department officers during an arrest. Now, and this was brought up in 2014. But unfortunately, it never made it past the talking phase. Why? Because then, and current mayor Bill de Blasio said, no, we're not there yet. And so even though he has a biracial child, he has a black wife, right? He has a little bit of awareness when it comes to what blackness is. He still couldn't see the full picture, even after the events that took place with Eric Garner. But now here they are revisiting. And he's talking about doing a complete 180. Now he's saying he's not going to necessarily veto the bill. But if it's open to addressing officers whose life is in danger, they're in life or death situations, if it addresses that, then he'll pass it. Which is interesting on so many fronts, right? So here we have in Louisville, Kentucky, where the police chief was just fired because a black man was killed by the police. And every single police officer within the city of Louisville's body camera was off. Not just the ones that did the shooting, but all of the police officers. And so now here we have a he said, she said. Who shot first? Were they just shooting in a crowd, or were they shooting specifically at the person who allegedly shot at them? All of these questions. And so when Bill de Blasio says that these officers who are in life or death situations, we've seen it time and time again, when on camera, they've been in quote unquote life and death situations. And we say, nah, no, you weren't. They tried to say George Floyd was aggressive. We got the video. So imagine Think about it. If this bill gets passed in New York and body cameras are still turned off, they're not required to be worn or to be operable unless there's some type of cell phone footage. What's the police officer going to do? Yeah, I was in a life or death situation. But again, I guess their hearts are in the right place when they have these conversations, right? This is what our legislators do. Because on the surface, it sounds good. It sounds good. No more chokeholds. But we're talking about people. We're talking about people in high stress, high pressure situations who have the ability, who've been given permission for the past 400 years to behave in a manner that they see fit. Right? You was who you was before you got here. And so you're supposed to change overnight? We're outlawing it? Come on, man. Good luck. I don't know about the police union in New York City, but I know how strong the FOP is here in Philadelphia. Because that's one thing I'll give it to. That guy, he probably can't walk a block. He's probably definitely at risk of the coronavirus based off his physical makeup. But he doesn't budge for anybody. And so that'll be interesting to see going forward whether this chokehold will be outlawed in New York City. Again, in New York, what else is happening, right? The mayor says he's opening to addressing a bill and passing a bill. Well, no, overhauling a bill, which keeps police records, their disciplinary records, hidden from public view. And so now it would make it public information. What's taking them so long? Right? They're public servants, correct? They're public servants, correct? So why shouldn't it be open? Imagine if in Minnesota, if this officer's file was open and we knew exactly what he had participated in for those 12 complaints against him. Maybe it could have been protest after incident 1, after incident 4, after incident 12. This isn't the first murder that he's participated in. At some point, that we're going to truly have to address the power that the police have. This isn't a partnership. It's not a partnership, no way. What it is a specific group of people who've been given the ability to run roughshod over communities, vulnerable communities, marginalized communities, disenfranchised communities, whenever they want. We still seeing what's taking place. Like I said, tear gas being shot at peaceful protesters. So yeah, don't tell me about officers are kneeling with the people. Like Marx said, religion is the opiate of the masses. Don't let the wool be over your eyes for things like this, for events that take place like this. Because you know how I feel about it. I don't necessarily know if you would be a cop if you really had humanity. What's best for humanity as your ultimate goal. And so again, that's New York. And I tried to say, all right, well, let me go around and let me see what's happening in Philly. I couldn't find anything. Right? I couldn't find anything. I went across our sites to try to figure out, well, what are the demands? I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not taking place. Maybe I didn't hit the right website to find out what our city council is proposing. But I know how quick they cleaned up that Rizzo statue. I'm talking about pristine. Priorities. You know, I've been sitting and thinking a lot about Jimmy Baldwin because I think that's my spirit animal in so many ways. The awkwardness that he had, but still the self-assurance and the self-confidence to be able to speak out. Having the courage to say, F it, I'm out. But then having the courage to say and come back and to produce the type of literature that he's produced. And so when I played that clip when it started, how much more time do you want for your progress? That's the question. That's the question. And we can't, who cares about what their answer is? What the establishment's answer is? It's about us. It's about our individual protest. How are we showing up on the day-to-day? What are we going to be doing to truly make sure that some change is going to come? Are we blacking out? Right? Are we blacking out? Are we pausing the show? Are we using our voice on Blackout Tuesday? Now let's be clear. I had no idea what Blackout Tuesday was. I still have no idea what Blackout Tuesday is. And why is that? Because I've seen 15 variations of this same post about what Blackout Tuesday is supposed to be. I didn't know the origins came from the music industry. In particular, Brianna Agyemang and Jamila Thomas, black female executives in the recording industry. So they launched a campaign to challenge an industry that has profited predominantly from black art. Right? They love our culture, but firmly despise and dislike the people within the culture. So yeah, they'll take our goods. And so in the statement that they made, they said that their mission is to hold the industry at large, including major corporations and their partners who benefit from the efforts, struggles, and successes of black people accountable. To that end, it is the obligation of these entities to protect and empower the black communities that have made them disproportionately wealthy in ways that are measurable and transparent. That was beautiful. So what we talking about here? Exactly. What are we talking about here? And so with their platform, they said at some point they'll have some tangible measures that they're looking for. Now again, on these various posts that I've seen on social media with regards to Blackout Tuesday, there were a litany of things. There were a litany of things that were being asked. Some it was just like, yo, black it out, get off social media for the day. All right. Some it was, yo, get off social media, but make sure you use the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Okay. Some it was, make sure you black out, make sure you go vote. Don't use the hashtag Black Lives Matter, because then that would impact the information that's being disseminated to the people. Because this is one of the outlets that the people use, one of the vehicles that they use in order to see what's going on the grounds in the communities. Okay. And there's about 10, 12 more. And so my thing was, cool, whatever your protest is your protest. I talk a lot about your individual protest. And so if that means posting something that's black on your social media screen, hey, who am I to tell you that that doesn't work? My concern was that, especially with the hashtag Black Lives Matter tag being utilized in this, again, that very point, that the information being disseminated on the grounds might be lost, because here in Philadelphia, the police cut off the scanners yesterday. I have an app on my phone. Yeah, I'm kind of corny, right? Sometimes I just sit and listen to the police scanner. One time it paid off. A guy stole an ambulance, and he was riding around the city for a cool couple of hours. And I was aware of that before it made it to the news. It never started watching on the news, so I felt kind of good about it. Right? Like, oh, I was in the know. But again, it was off. And now with that being off, what happens? Again, that's one avenue, one outlet where information can't be gotten from. How does that impact the people on the streets? Like I said yesterday, tear gas was shot at people who were peacefully protesting. Maybe if they would have been able to hear, maybe if they would have been able to get some text message saying, yo, I just heard X, Y, and Z was about to take place, warn the people around you. When you go on social media to the Black Lives Matter hashtag, all I see is black squares. All I see is black squares. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that hashtag is a viable source of information. Only those who use it can tell you that. But if they say it, I believe it. And so when I see these black squares, I'm like, nah, that's not it. And so a lot of times we see this happening, like the co-opting of messages. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick and Malcolm Jenkins. Taken and used for something else. And it becomes distorted. I was reading on one of the hip hop sites, the Blackout Tuesday tag on Instagram has 24.9 million posts. The Justice for George Floyd petition has 11.8 million signatures. Sounds like somebody's missing the point. And that was another one of the criteria to participate in Blackout Tuesday. Go sign the petition. Some of it was go to and donate funds to some bail funds that's taking place. Shout out to the guy, what's the designer bull? What's this designer guy who he created Off-White, and now he works, I believe, either for Louis Vuitton or for Versace or for Gucci. He Kanye man. Somebody get me that information. But shout out to him for donating $50 to a bail fund. His name is Oblong or something. Now it's gonna drive me wild until I find out what that is. Let me see. Virgil, right? Virgil Abloh, right? Shout out to Virgil Abloh for donating $50 to the cause. Creator of Off-White. Good looking Starks. Artistic director of menswear at Louis Vuitton. $50 to the cause. Now, if at any point of me playing Umar, I wasn't going to do, but that's one of those. That's it. You can't tell. I can't tell people what to do with their money. But yeah, maybe your money might not look funny in the light, but you definitely start looking funny in the light when you're worth millions and you donate $50. But again, who's around him to have this conversation? Who's around him to hold him accountable? Who's around him to say, yo, just for image purposes, that's a publicist's job to step in and say, yo, don't donate the $50. Just don't do anything. Don't donate $50 because you're going to look clown-ish. And I appreciate the people who are going to hold him accountable across social media. Now, what does this mean? Y'all still gonna buy Off-White? If he's still a part of Off-White. He might still be the CEO. Y'all gonna stop buying Louis Vuitton? I don't know. I've never been to Louis Vuitton, Don. That's on y'all. Right? And of course, and Stark talks about he responded to the backlash and that it seemed forced. Of course, I'm cool over. I don't need to hear responses. Again, does this get him excommunicated from the black community? Nah. But does this get you that's your man's? Yeah, that definitely gets you, is that your man's? And so if you participated in Blackout Tuesday, feel free to drop your thoughts and your comments with regards to it. Tyree Wilson says, after they rebuild, are we going to shop at the same place? Listen, I don't, first off, I wear the same thing every day. That's where I'm at with it. I'm dressed in all black like the Omen. Have your friends saying this is for my homies. And you know me, from making, all right, that's enough of that. I wear the same thing. I don't shop at these stores anyway. But again, that's just me. I don't know what other people are doing. I highly doubt it. Because again, we live in a capitalistic society and we all play a part in this system. We all play a part in this system and keeping this system going. And so now we always going to have to keep up with the Joneses. We always got to have the fresh sneaks. We got to have the fresh shirts, the fresh cars. We got to have that new. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shoot, if we look at the different places that are disrespectful to us on a regular basis. I've been in Chinese stores where I just knew the vibe was off. And how they talked to me was kind of disrespectful, but I had to eat. Or so that's what I told myself. Right? We have a bad experience somewhere and we give them the benefit of the doubt. We knew a lot of these places weren't catering, quote unquote, to the black community. When we talk about Gucci bringing in a Dapper Dan for optics reasons. After the backlash of their items with the big lips and the big eyes. These caricatures of black folk. I still see the ball players with Gucci. And so we gonna do what we do. I'm not going to say it's an integrity issue. I'm not going to say it's a morality issue. That's not for me to decide. The only thing I can control is myself. And so when we take a look at a lot of these establishments, have they ever really been for black folk? We talk about the NFL. We talk about 75% of the NFL being black. We have former high-level officials in the NFL coming out and saying, yeah, Kaepernick was right. Yeah, we blackballed him. Some 3 to 4 years later. Yeah, tell us something that we don't know. We knew this, but we're still watching the NFL, right? We recognize that they're trying to they've made changes to the Rooney Rule. Still trying to force these billionaire white folk to be diverse in their hiring practices. But we still watching the NFL. Right? I know I am. For me, it is a tug of war. It's like, how can I support Eric Reed and how can I watch a sport that I enjoy knowing what they did to Cap? It's a dichotomous situation. And so I recognize that. I know the NFL ain't shit. Right? I know it's a bunch of racist, billionaire owners that exist. That's the game. And so how do you operate moving forward? Like I talked about Dabo Swinney earlier. Everything about him screams racist. To my knowledge, Nick Saban hasn't said a word yet. Because we understand that they know about the bottom line and the importance of the black athlete. I've yet to read William Rodin's book, The $40 Million Slave. But it's still apropos to today. Yeah, we see the athletes still speaking out. But like we said about Cap, who's stepping off the field and saying, nah, F all that, we going? Who going to do that? You want to see more black head coaches in the NFL? You want to see more black executives in the NFL? You want to see more women coaches in the NFL? You want to see more women executives in the NFL? Let everybody roll. And said, nah, we good. But who's willing to sit with that discomfort? Who's willing to forego the hundreds of thousands? Who's willing to forego the millions of dollars in the name of the people, in the name of a cause? I don't know too many that will. They talk about put their money where their mouth is, man. At some point, money not enough. That's why Jordan received that black backlash that he did in the early 90s. In that North Carolina governor's race. Where he was asked and his mother implored him to make a public service announcement in support of the black governor who was running. And he said, nah, that's not really my lane. I'll donate a couple of dollars to the campaign. Again, don't get me wrong, money matters. But your face is worth a whole lot more. His face is worth a whole lot more. And what happened as soon as that white governor won? He said something to the effect of, yeah, they're not happy in Coontown or something to that effect. Right now, they like show Mike Grace because he didn't have the wherewithal. He didn't have the knowledge. All right, cool. The irony is that Mike has now come out and he's been extremely vocal recently. He's not only put his money where his mouth is with building those two medical centers in North Carolina and hiring black folk in executive positions for the Charlotte Hornets. He came out with a statement. Now, I don't know if Mike going to ever get himself back truly in the good graces of his people and the people that look like him. But I can say I appreciate it because he didn't have to. Right? He didn't have to. And that's why I'm even trying to show Tiger Woods a little bit of grace. A little bit. Right? A little bit. Because today Tiger came out and said with a post, my heart goes out to George Floyd, his loved ones and all of us who are hurting right now. I have always had the utmost respect for our law enforcement. I'm going to dissect this once I'm done reading because I don't want to get sidetracked. Said, I have always had the utmost respect for our law enforcement. They train so diligently to understand how, when, and where to use force. This shocking tragedy clearly crossed that line. I remember the LA riots and learned that education is the best path forward. We can make our points without burning the very neighborhoods that we live in. I hope that through constructive, honest conversations, we can build a safer, unified society. If I had a lighter, light it in the air right now. Light one in the air for Tiger Woods, man. All right, stop. That's enough. He don't get the full light. He get the flicker. Like the, and you get a little bit of flame and then it go out. That's all Tiger get. So let's dissect this. My heart goes out to George Floyd, his loved ones, and all of us who are hurting right now. Beautiful way to start, Tiger. Beautiful way to start. Then you go to hell in a handbasket. I've always had the utmost respect for our law enforcement. You pretty much negated all the goodwill that you got from that first line, Tiger. Because it's not about your utmost respect for the law enforcement, even if you feel that way. This isn't something you put out in the atmosphere when we're talking about only one cop has been charged out of 4 who were active participants in the murder. As I talked about yesterday, the language matters. In the murder of George Floyd. They train so diligently to understand how, when, and where to use force. Do they? I know plenty of folk who are police officers. They like, nah. Nah, we do some trainings. Don't get me wrong, we do some trainings. But it's not that exhaustive. It's not that extensive. Because clearly, if it was, we would have some type they would have some type of wherewithal of when to use excessive force. They would have some idea of how to manage their emotions in the midst of heightened crisis and conflict. So nah, Tiger. Nah, that's not it, brother. This shocking tragedy clearly crossed the line, so he tries to back himself back out of a corner. Then he goes right back into that corner. I remember the LA riots learned that education is the best path forward. What the hell was learned from the LA riots? Except that the officers that beat Rodney King on tape got off. What was the education lesson there? You better hope and pray you don't get effed up by the police. And so this is the problem when we allow these individuals to post things on social media because there's no pushback. If Tiger even indeed posted that himself. Tiger not up in the comments reading the pushback. Who's his homies? I don't know who Tiger's homies are. Talking about we're ready for, I hope that through constructive, honest conversations, we can build a safer, unified society. How much more time do you want for your progress, Tiger? White people, how much more time do you want for your progress? We've been having these conversations, these dialogues. You either make shit watch happen or not know what happens. So these conversations haven't made anything happen. Not to the level that's necessary. Now people are like, listen, let's show Tiger some grace. He came out and made a comment. Again, where's his publicist? Where's somebody to say, nah, Tiger, this is not the statement you need to make. It might be better off for you to be quiet. You, somebody who never fully embraced his blackness at any point. You had a Nike commercial talking about there's still certain golf courses that you couldn't go to. We're not trying to hear that, Tiger. We're not trying to hear about your privilege. Meanwhile, you weren't advocating for women who still couldn't be admitted to a lot of these golf courses that you were in. And so this is convenient, right? I feel like there should have been somebody to say, nah, Tiger, this not it. Let's start with the small issues first. Peace, Max. Let's start with the small issues first, Tiger. You know, let's get you some NFL black head coaches not being hired. Let's get you talking about the books not being up to date in inner city public schools. Let's get you talking about how the PPA, disproportionately tickets black folk in Philadelphia. Let's talk about the small stuff first, Tiger, before we get to these global things. Because you're not ready, my man. You're not ready. And so, it's the frustration that exists. Y'all know how I feel about celebrities. You know how I feel about athletes. And these people continuing to have these same nonsense conversations. I look at the Stephen A. Smiths. I'll never question his blackness. I'm not in the business of that. But I look at Max Kellerman and he makes some salient points. Now, I'm not going to give him you get a black card or you get invited to the cookout. I don't play that game. But again, I look at it as, what are you doing with your platform to have this conversation? You going to go viral off the stay off the weed instead of trying to understand the situations and understand the mindset that comes with Josh Gordon, who may test positive 8 and 9 times for marijuana usage, to understand the PTSD, to understand the trauma, to understand the depression, to understand the anxiety. That again, you could get millions of dollars, but you was who you was before you got here. So those mental wellness issues that Josh Gordon and other brothers like him are dealing with, they don't leave because they got money. And they can become exacerbated. Lamar says publicly we should never break down our people, but Tiger never identified as a black man, or so it seems to me. Tiger's statement is empty and prioritizes his respect of law enforcement and not the value of black life. We could have gone without, thanks but no thanks. Listen, I completely agree. Maybe not necessarily we should never publicly break down our people, right? I think it's a manner in which we do it. Because you can do it with integrity. I'm a fan of pushback. I have no problem in somebody pushing back against the thought or idea that I might have and saying, listen, no, you're not right. Or you need to think about it a different way. I'm okay with that because I believe in the idea of growth, and I know growth isn't comfortable. Now, when we're talking about shaming individuals, yeah, I can understand it. But again, it's a tactful way to do any and everything. And so even with Tiger, listen, listen, you speak to the facts. Yeah, Tiger, this might not necessarily been the conversation for you to participate in, my brother. Because this doesn't necessarily add to the movement, to the goals of a community. What you're representing is the status quo. What you're representing is the basic white liberal who we castigate when they make comments like this. Maybe in this case, it'll just be like, yo, Tiger, yeah, just donate $1 million, brother. Instead of the IG, donate the $1 million and keep it moving. Until you read some books, until you surround yourself with people who have some type of awareness, like Shamik Moore, who played Raekwon in the Wu-Tang I don't want to say documentary, but the Wu-Tang TV show, which chronicles their life. Talking about Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks should have took a cab and then doubled down on it. And so I say, I don't blame you, young blood. I blame your old head for not giving you proper guidance. Right? And no, in public, no, we need to say, brother, that ain't it. And we can do it with tech. My mama says maybe he had to start somewhere. Yeah, again, I hear you. But maybe this wasn't the place he needed to start. You don't just start walking, right? You crawl first. You roll around first. You start movement. You start getting used to your legs and your arms, your body. And then like, all right, let me see what I can do on a crawling tip. And then you stand and you feel comfortable in standing. And then you're like, okay, let me take a step or two, but let me hold on to something. And then next thing you know, you moving about. Tiger went from laying in a crib like a newborn to trying to run. And the only thing that comes from this is, you look silly, my brother. You look silly. But even within all of that, I still got to show the brother grace. And so just like that, man, it's almost an hour in. I ain't get that many questions. No phone. Y'all better start calling me, man. Y'all better start calling me. I got the phone line open. But nah, we'll keep that for tomorrow. Listen, I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's pretty much it. If interested in purchasing some merch, go to quantifyllc.net/shop. Everything in the store is 25% off when you use the code MENFEEL2. I got some new merch that says MENFEEL2. June is Men's Health Month, so take advantage of it. Again, we need to continue to have these dialogue and push the conversation forward when it comes to not only mental health but physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Until tomorrow, peace.